So my name is Laetitia Forst, and I work at the University of the Arts London in the United Kingdom. And so UIL is an arts and design university which has 6 colleges across the city of London. We are one of the partners on the Hereware project and have been working sort of on the design aspects of the project since it started in October 2020. I personally, I'm a researcher at the university. I have a background in textile design, and I think that's something that sort of like really draws the team that we are at the Centre for Circular Design, so a research centre inside the university. Like that's sort of one of our common denominators, is that we are designers first, and that we approach research through design. So the Centre for Circular Design is this cluster of design researchers at the university, and we've been exploring ways of making the textile industry more sustainable, more circular and just since 2016. That's when we transitioned from being a cluster called Textile Environment Design, which that started in 1996. So we've got sort of like quite a history of using design to sort of support the industry in this transition. And in 2016, we sort of like changed names to focus more on this circular aspect. So what we do is that we work, so I say between technology and design. So we're not actually like technology experts, but we find ourselves as this bridge between technological innovation and into actually sort of applying these ideas and the innovation with brands and like for designers. So we do a lot of like translation work where we work in between different expert stakeholders to support this shift in the industry. And in that sort of like collaboration between multiple stakeholders, we're quite keen, and so that's one of our specialties, is to work with making and prototyping. So really putting sort of the designer's way of making, way of thinking at the center of our work and of the way that we hope to transform the industry. So like the challenges, I've gone quite broad and sort of like really thought about like what the challenges are that we are approaching in Hereware. And like I think that's also maybe representative of like the way that we go about thinking in our research. Yeah, the image is more of an illustration. I can see you leaning in, Marco, to try and see the different material flows. This is actually sort of like a student work from a different university, just sort of like representing this complexity of like current supply chains. So that's sort of, just an illustration of where we are now with like very globalized, fragmented industry. And it's one of the things that the Hereware project is trying to address, sort of like really thinking about how we might change from like this fragmented, globalized industry with like production in the Far East and consumption in the West, to more localized fashion systems. And obviously moving away from the linear and polluting supply chains that are highly dependent on sort of very conventional crops like cotton or synthetic materials like polyester. So the assumption the mission in Hereware, as you might know, is to support a shift to bio-based materials. But that in itself presents a challenge in the sense that bio-based materials are a very nebulous term in itself. There is sort of like just quite a general understanding of what this can be, of like the actual definitions within that and the benefits and challenges inside that category of materials. I mean, just yesterday I was running workshops with students in textile design who literally struggle to actually grasp what a bio-based material is, what isn't, what is exciting, and how they might actually sort of tie together their mission of like working with responsible design, like working towards sustainability, with that category of materials. So that kind of like is also one of the things where like we work is trying to get those definitions clearer, both for industry, but also for students. We work in a university. So working with like these emerging designers is also something that we're quite interested in. And one of the other challenges that we find when looking at this shift towards biomaterials is that it's actually quite difficult for designers to access and use these bio-based materials. So we've been like working around that in plenty of ways. So obviously we can't like necessarily give them access, but we're there to try and facilitate this like the acquisition of knowledge for these designers to get like a better understanding of how they can enter this area. I've actually switched stuff around, if you will allow me, and done the services part of this presentation before the other bits, because being part of the consortium, we actually have sort of a role in delivering like the elements that the community expects. So the services that we have like put forward in response to these challenges sort of are elements of our research. So this collection of bio-based materials is a sort of data set that was collected in the early stages of the HereWare project as a way of sort of embodying and grounding the information around bio-based materials and getting to a definition that was a bit better, like a bit more targeted than the one that you saw in the previous slide, where like basically bio-based materials, biomaterials, biofabricated is all sort of like pretty open. So we in January 2021, we launched a call out to innovators in this area to provide references for this collection of bio-based materials. So obviously it's not completely comprehensive. There's loads of things that are just as difficult for us to access than they are for designers. But collecting these materials actually gave us quite a sweeping view of like what bio-based materials could mean in terms of like their qualities, in terms of like the processes that they go through, and how they can be exciting for a designer to work with. So the collection covers, so obviously we've got like, you know, a couple of like token, maybe more conventional hemp and organic cotton samples in there. But then we go all the way to like bio-based materials that are produced in sort of like really small design studio environments. So like, you know, more experimental materials. We've got things that are like quite highly mediatized by like sort of bio-based materials with like maybe some challenges in the way that they're communicated. So things like cactus leather, which has drawn a lot of attention in the media, but actually needs a bit of scrutiny about like what it is offering and like how bio-based and how sustainable it is. So yeah, so like this has really provided us with a basis for like interesting conversations around what these bio-based materials could be. And one of the pieces of knowledge that we've extracted from it is this material life cycle map. So basically this is a representation of a simplified representation of what different life cycle stages are relevant for bio-based materials. This is obviously also relevant for non-bio-based materials, but here that's like where we focused on, and there's more granularity in, let's say, the feedstocks, for example, that like can yield bio-based materials. And one of the things that's interesting is that it kind of like sheds light on some of the aspects of material transformation that designers wouldn't necessarily be privy to, in the sense that like feedstock preparation, I mean, understanding different types of raw material feedstocks and like considering what the questions around sustainability or availability might be for each of these stages has been quite interesting to open up discussion and sort of like get a little bit deeper with designers than we would by just sort of like approaching the topic in a more general way. And one of the things that's also really relevant for us is like that this helps really connect circularity with bio-based materials. So it's a full life cycle map that encourages thinking about the end of life from the very beginning, which is something that is inherent to all the work that we do. So how we would like to engage. We want to learn from community members like how this tool can be helpful, can be useful to them. We've been running workshops already with students and with businesses to use this map and like eke out some of the sort of like maybe more valuable aspects of it. And beyond that actual sort of like tool for discussion, at this stage in the project, we're actually quite interested in understanding how like this sample collection might be accessed by the community. We've got a physical sample collection which we use in like physical workshops with brands, but perhaps we want to see how this could be opened up and made into something that could be easily accessed sort of as an open source format, so that we could get also new material input from the community and see this collection grow. And so this is sort of like a very basic approach to like seeing how this collection could actually be accessed. At the moment, it's a Miro board, so just like a sort of icons that are spread out on a collaborative whiteboard, which sort of include the references that we have in the sample collection with this description through the material lifecycle map. So you can see that like this is not like your maybe classic material library where you would have like, you know, the price and the sort of like technical definitions of the materials, and maybe like the contact for the provider. It's more about creating this pool of knowledge about what bio-based materials could be, to like, yeah, open up the use of those materials in that sense rather than the commercial sense. So in conclusion, I think like, so to respond to the prompts that were put forward, like one of the things that's really exciting about the HearWare community is that there is so much knowledge and experience of working with these bio-based materials. We've like already been able to like communicate and exchange with brands who have been working with like a specific material for a while, and it would be really great to be able to pull this knowledge through events like this and continue to exchange. We're also really interested sort of like from the research perspective to get closer to the designers and brands that are working in this area, apart from the fact that it's not customers, but like to really get closer to understanding the needs of customers in this area when we're looking at shifting to novel bio-based materials. So yeah, so I think like the final message is to like hopefully keep this community together so that we can continue to discuss like these challenges together. Esther, your perspective sounded really, really interesting. So I'd love to hear questions or comments from you and from the others. Thank you.